Count Corla Tánaiste, the Budget 2014 is a deeply dishonest budget. It's littered with broken promises. Your programme for government promised not to cut social welfare rates. Indeed, Labour claims that protecting social welfare is one of your main achievements, one of your main reasons for being in government. But this week, you've broken that promise again. And hiding behind the deplorable record of Fianna Fáil is really no defence. You've cut job seekers' allowance for young people, and you've also cut invalidity pension. Now, Tánaiste, these are core social welfare payments, and you've cut them, so you've broken your promise. When Fianna Fáil first cut job seekers for the under-25s back in 2009, what was the response of the Labour Party? Well, at that time, your party said that the cut was offensive, intended to promote emigration, and your party justifiably at that time accused Fianna Fáil of putting the squeeze on young people and making them pay for the recession. My, how your tune has changed. This morning, your colleague Deputy Eamonn Maloney, quoted in today's newspapers, justifies these cuts. Deputy Maloney wishes to save the young people of Tala from watching flat-screen televisions 7 days a week. So your party colleague is blaming young people for their unemployment. He's accusing them, stating quite openly that in his view the young people in Tala are too lazy to go out and work. So Tánaiste, is it now official Labour Party policy to force young people to emigrate? Is it now official Labour Party policy to make young people pay for the recession? And is it official Labour Party policy to blame young people for being unemployed?
It is official Labour Party policy to get young people into jobs and into education and training so that they are in a better position to take up employment opportunities. And that is official Labour Party policy, and it is the policy of the government. And that is why, Deputy, in this budget we have provided €500 million additional for employment creation measures. That is why we are proposing to employ additional teachers in our classrooms, additional Gardaí, starting recruitment again for the first time in many years. It is why we have provided €740 million in this budget for education, further education and training, so that young people can get the education and training that will equip them to get into the workplace. The place for any young person is not permanently in front of a flat-screen television. It is at work or in education and training. That is where they get the best start in life. This government does not blame young people for being unemployed. This government wants to help young people to get out of unemployment and into employment. And in order to get into employment, and every study or every examination shows this, that in order to get into employment, you have a better chance of getting a job if the higher the level of skills you have and the higher the level of education you have. And that is why we have, for example, ensured that in this budget that the school system is protected, that the pupil-teacher ratio is protected, so that young people get the best possible opportunity while they are still at school. And it is why we have put a focus on activation, on using the education and training system in order to get people into a position where they are in employment. It's jobs we want for young people. Good jobs, well-paid jobs, jobs for which they have appropriate education and training. And that is why we have made and are making the changes in our social welfare system and in our education and training system, and why we are making the changes that we are in the Jobs Action Plan, so that we have a joined-up approach to getting people into employment and providing the education and training for them.
Thank you. Lou McDonald, 1 minute.
Tánaiste, to get young people into work, you have to create jobs, real, decent jobs. And cutting the safety net for young people and whipping the rug from under them does not get them back into unemployment. And by the way, I beg to differ with Deputy Maloney and with yourself. You see, I don't actually believe that young jobless people spend hours in front of flat-screen televisions in Tala or anywhere else. You talk about your activation measures. Here's the position. 54,000 young people officially out of work. That's 18,000 more than when you took office. Official youth unemployment rate is 30%, and many aren't captured in that figure. Budget 2014 promises a paltry 4,500 additional places for these young people. Last year, you promised a paltry 10,000 places. You only delivered 5. So that's your record in terms of activation for the young. So don't come in here and spoof. When Féin cut job seekers allowance back in 2009, they also claimed that they would have these training interventions. They didn't materialise. And you were quick to point that out then. But the same is true today. People need jobs. You need proper labour activation, and you are asleep at the wheel. You are failing our young people, and by cutting their welfare, the only modest support for them and their families, you leave many of them with no option but to emigrate. That's official Labour policy.
Would you put your question?
Why are you forcing our young? Why are you forcing our young from this state to Sydney and Brisbane and Boston and beyond? It strikes me that that's official Labour Party policy, just like Fianna Fáil, Taoiseach. So answer that. Why are you making the young people pay for the recession?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Well, first of all, let's spare a moment now to take a look at Sinn Féin policy. Because when this recession began, 2011, your leader said the IMF should go home and take their money with them, and he suggested that we should default.
Sorry, would you please allow a reply?
In order. No, take your medicine. Take your medicine. Take your medicine.
Deputy, sit down.
What that would have resulted.
Sit down, Reggie.
What that would have resulted in is a deficit of 21 billion, and you wouldn't be able to borrow. Now, a deficit of 21 billion would have resulted in cuts in the budget of 37%. 37% cut in the budget. A 37% cut in the budget. A 37% cut in the budget.
Stay quiet.
A 37% cut in the budget amounts to a cut of €85 a week in the old age pension. That's what it amounts to. So let's cut out the spoof here. In relation to jobs for young people, in relation to the issue for young people, in relation to young people, this government is creating 3,000 additional jobs per month. We want to accelerate that, and that's why we've provided an additional €500 million in this year's budget in order to get more jobs into our economy. Secondly, we want to see young people in employment or in education and training. And that is why we reached agreement on the youth guarantee, the idea behind of which is that no young person should be more than 8 months either out of the labour force or out of education and training. And we have provided the funding in this budget to enable that youth guarantee to be started and to be put into operation. The position of this government in relation to young people is in employment or in education and training.
Now, before I call on Deputy Daly.